Right.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first episode in 2024. So, welcome back. And here we are in the new year. So, this session, we are talking about action is presence. So, to that end, I want to welcome Betty. Welcome to the new year, Betty. How are you?
Fine. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yep.
Margaret
Excellent.
used to say, every day is a new beginning. Every day is the world made new. So here we are, all
That's
new.
right. That's
Every
right. So, as we look at action as presence, there's a few quotes from Christian Science Re-Explored that I'll kick us off with. The divinity of man, the good or God, may appear as ordered, harmonious, creative, joyous human beings, or as just the opposite. But neither point of view affects the fact that human beings exist humanly because their existence is divine. And that's from Christian Science Re-Explored, Margaret Laird's book. Said another way, God action is seen as man present. Every moment's occurrence languages itself uniquely as each one of us being, doing, and having whatever we be, do, or have. So let me say that again. God action is seen as man present. Every moment's occurrence languages itself uniquely as each one of us being, doing, and having whatever we be, do, or have. All action is divine. Human beings believing that their language view is real fail to acknowledge source accurately. This inaccuracy is costly to the believer who is unaware that he has allowed his point of view, the look of your daily living, to obscure your actual divine presence reality. Thus, human beings struggle endlessly in attempting to change, fix, improve, or disprove appearances, blinding yourself to the detour from devotion to spiritual facts to engaging in their beliefs or current language view. Mrs. Laird taught the life we now live self-consciously is a life that we live in the unconscious or mind, capital M. Life, God, is not a theory to believe in. It's the reality of all existence. This knowledge is the force or power evident as unchanging change, evolving a world always new and interesting. So, Betty, is there anything you want to add, change, augment about those introductory statements? No? I'm kind of looking at it like our New Year's resolutions really are attempt to fix and change.
Our what?
New Year's resolutions really are
They're
attempt to
all
fix
language
and change.
based.
Right.
We really don't give up on thinking that we can really fix it, really improve it, really get it just the way we want it. And if we ever did, we discover that moment it ended. Now it's a whole new what now?
Right.
So you're always on the brink of what now, what now, what now, because
Right.
infinity doesn't repeat itself. So it's never the same for a minute following a minute. It's like now, now, now. And it's always brand new. It's always like every day being made new. It's
Right.
like every second there's something different, something has changed. Nothing is ever the way we like to think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
all
So,
a new presence.
yeah. So if we look at action as presence and we're looking at the new year, and about this time, everyone's figuring out, I'm going to lose weight this year. I really am. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in shape. This is when the gyms and the diet programs are in full tilt. This is their Christmas, is the new year.
Yep.
So what would you say is a science view of any of that going on? Whether you do it or not really isn't, it's of no consequence. What?
It's the language is always maybe so, maybe not. You grow the language that is appropriate for you. But what you're doing is growing the evidence of your divine being as a conscious experience rather than an unconscious event.
Mm-hmm.
And as you live yourself consciously, the new you shows up all the time.
Right.
Keep walking on. If you buy into the belief of the language, the new you and the old you have no difference, and there's no excitement to it. There's no presence to it. It's like looking at the past.
Okay. So when we say action is presence,
Yeah.
we're talking about the right now action.
Yep. That's the only kind you got.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
It's not planning to act. It's acting now. It's the right now.
Action is life being. It's activity. It's not, my planning of it makes no difference at all. What is.
Right. So if does that lead to the statement God is a verb?
Sure.
This verb would be action.
Yeah. Okay. Without that, there is no man. Because God identifying himself as man. If there's no action, there's no identification going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. Very good. Well, I just want to take a little bit of time, a little shout out here to acknowledge the Institute of Metaphysical Science, which sponsors the Rethink Life live streams that we have here. So if these are things that you enjoy and you love and they make a difference for you, think about donating to the IMS. We're a charitable trust, nonprofit, so that's all tax deductible. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. And you can also go to scientificmetaphysics.org to check out and purchase any of the books or materials or look at what events are coming up or anything like that. So I just wanted to have a little bit of a commercial around the Institute of Metaphysical Science. Again, the sponsor of Rethink Life's live stream. Okay, shall we dive in?
We did.
All right, let's go. In Christian Science Re-Explored, and that's the book that we're looking at here by Margaret Laird, on page 165, starting on line 17, she wrote, opposites are two views of one reality, each view deriving its meaning from the other.
Yep. That's like saying, how could I recognize that it was a good day unless I had in my own experience the belief of a bad day? So I have comparison. So right away, I'm operating in the past, looking at something that no longer exists and sizing it up with something that's going on right now. And doing that, I negate any presence right now could have in the way of a blessing for myself.
Okay.
So I'm living it as if it were something that occurs for the two-legged animal. I've got it stuck in the language world, and it is of no value. It's like pie in the sky.
Okay. And then as we go on for a little bit more discussion, again in Christian Science Re-Explored, further down the page, Mrs. Laird wrote, opposites are not opposites in the sense of one existing without the other. Opposites are two views of the one reality, each view deriving its meaning from the other. So really there's one thing going on, and then we like to compare.
Well, we're seeing the one thing going on.
And then we have our point of view about it, good, bad.
We're being that. And the effort to have it be multiple in the language world is like wanting to cut yourself in half.
Right.
Oh, two of me.
Right,
well, they
right.
Kills it off right off the bat because there isn't any acknowledgement of reality in that desire.
Yeah.
What there is a belief that the language really does govern the world.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And in Science and Health on page 181-29, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, where your treasure is, there will be your heart also.
There will your heart be also.
There will be your heart be also.
There will be your heart. Oh, I left too many bees in there.
Yeah. So I just took one out.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries. So where your treasure is, there will be your heart.
Yep.
Say more about that.
Where your value is.
So are you talking about your point of view?
Yeah, I'm talking about how you're living yourself.
Okay.
I live myself where my treasure is. I'm not going to live myself where I hate it all.
Well, I don't know.
So when I live myself where my treasure is, and then I don't like it, that tells me that I'm looking at something that is a point of view, giving it the presence of reality, and being dominated by it. So I've killed myself off from having anything real present in
Because
my.
we're just being informed by my point of view.
Yeah, I've chosen that, and that's where I get hooked.
Right.
And then I think, that what is it? And I don't realize that I'm generating my own problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mrs. Eddy has a statement that's really good about that. She says, well, it just escaped me. But
all right. If it comes back, you'll bring it up.
Yeah, but she said, our point of view is what we base our living on.
Sure.
And if it's garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Right.
It's reality. There's
right. Well, if we buy the picture and we buy our point of view as if it's real.
That's right.
And the thing is that when I get it, I mean, I get news and I'm disappointed, or something else happens and I'm down, and sometimes it's hard to just let it be.
Yeah. Well, then immediately though where you're grounded.
Right.
I'm grounded in language. I'm upset. I'm disgusted. I'm without hope, or I'm hopeful and joyous, and then it fades away, and then I'm without hope again. And
right. So what percentage of the time do you think we live in our point of view, hooked by it, versus really being clear about what's so?
I imagine it varies, but I would say it's about 98% of the time
that we live in the point of view.
Yeah, I believe the language world.
Right. And the more practice we do with science, the more practice we get on all of this, the more we can get with it faster. We can go, doesn't mean that.
The thing is, it sounds like we're saying ignore the language. We're not saying that. We're saying the language looks like that, but what's present is one being. Reality is the reality. Reality is the divine presence, being itself, being this look.
Right.
And this look is totally right here. Over there doesn't know anything about the look that's right here. They got another one going on.
Right.
But my look is always mine.
Yeah.
And the only one that can let go of it is me. Yeah. And the only way I let go of it is not to fuss with that, but to look at what is actually present. Focus on the reality present and leave that look that's language alone. Oh, that's the way it looks today. Thank you for sharing. And on you go. You don't buy into, oh my gosh, look what I've got to take care of now. Oh my, what a mess.
Right.
All of that.
Okay.
Because man is the expression of God's being, and the action of the God idea identifies itself as man.
Right.
And if that's not the man you're working with, you're playing in the never, never land of language.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Mrs. Eddy went on to say, divine mind rightly demands man's entire obedience, affection, and strength. No reservation is made for any lesser loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
So it's devotion of thought. Is that basically what that's getting at?
Yep. Devotion of thought to the right idea makes the idea possible.
Okay. So
That's all.
sticking with the facts, acknowledging the facts of being.
Yeah, it brings them into your life. Well, it's like riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting in my office poring over something at my desk, the bicycle isn't going anywhere.
Right.
But I'm saying I'm riding a bicycle.
Right.
And pretty soon people look at me and say, yeah, really? Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
pretty soon they think you're pretty flaky. And you are, because you're not being yourself.
Right.
You want to realize that I don't know, it's like looking at anything. If you are not actively participating, you're not present.
Right.
You're living in a distance related thing. Oh, something's going on over there. And maybe this afternoon I'll give it a thought.
Right.
Guess what? You're not present. You're not going to be present this afternoon because this afternoon's never going to be here. Right now is all I've got.
Right.
And the time to be present is to be right now. Right now. Right now. I don't have to be worried about tomorrow if I can be present right now, because tomorrow never comes. It's always now, 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 now. Who am I being?
Right.
I think about that once in a while. I have kind of a problem with the shoulder, and I have periods when I have no problem, and other periods when it seems to be really a distressful thing, and it makes me uncomfortable. And I think about it sometimes, and I think thinking about it is not helpful. Thinking constitutes the being present.
Right.
So if I'm thinking that I'm Betty, I'm the hurt shoulder right there. If I'm thinking as the reflected presence of the God idea, there's no shoulder.
Right.
There's one thing going on, existence. And existence separate from the God idea is impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And in Mind is the Athlete, on page 89, you say it this way: metaphysical science teaches that there is no authority outside of one's own divine being.
Go ahead with a note.
All being is subjective, existing in and as the eternal. There is no objective reality. It's all point of view.
It's all subjective.
Yeah.
It's all who I'm being.
Right.
If I'm being uncomfortable, that discomfort does not exist except right where I say so.
Right. In the point of view. Is that in the point of view we're talking about?
The language.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm buying into that as something other than feedback, language is feedback.
Yeah.
It's always already happened. It's in the past. And it's feedback telling me where I'm coming from.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm coming from, don't like this, or I'm out of money, or I'm lost my job, or I'm whatever, all of those things. If I'm there, I'm not present.
Right.
I'm involved in language, and I'm not being present. I'm not present being.
Right.
However, I want to say that, but I want to wake up to the fact that it's the one in charge is what's present. And the language is not present as an it. It's a point of view.
Yeah.
So I leave it alone. What I want to do is be present as the understanding of who I am, of what's going on. And Mrs. Eddy said it very well. All is infinite mind, infinitely manifest.
Yeah.
If I'm there, on we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And in Christian Science Reexplored, Margaret Laird wrote on 165, line 32, Our humanity is constantly informing us of our divinity in the language of our discernment. In other words, the way we see it is the only way it can appear to us based on wherever we are and what there is to discover.
Yeah, when you say that, it isn't like a sentence that you have to work out of. You're seeing it moment by moment by moment, instant by instant.
Yeah.
And that shifts anytime you say, oh, it's infinite mind, then it isn't out there like a thing that needs to be fixed. It's
Right.
mental. Well, where does mental activity go on? It goes on as my being. I'm present because reality is action, and there's action going on here.
Right.
Now, if I'm unconscious to the action, I'm hung up with the look of it.
Right.
And that's where I fall in my face. The look of it is not the action.
Mm-hmm.
So I leave that alone. I don't try to fix it. I don't try to improve the look of it. The hell with it, Margaret used to say. All is perfect, whole, complete, joyous, free, right now.
Right.
It's the only thing going on, and it's whole.
Okay. All right. And then also she goes on to say the human being does not exist to be saved from its humanness or from its materiality. Since in the human, the divine is the human, and in the matter, mind is the matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just restating what you have just said.
Yep.
Okay. And Mary Baker Eddy in Science and Health on page 180, line 31, said it this way: to reduce inflammation, dissolve a tumor, or cure organic disease.
A cure.
Cure. Okay. Or cure organic disease. That's a C, not a D. All right. Cure organic disease. I have found divine truth more potent than all lower remedies.
And go ahead with the note because it's right, continuing on that same idea.
And why not? Since mind, God, the God idea, is the source and condition of all existence.
Exactly.
And that's probably not a question either. Okay. So it's just knowing and acknowledging source and truth. That's what we're talking about. The divinity present, being present to that.
Yeah, it isn't that you make it true by knowing it, because you don't, if you think of yourself as Kim,
right,
Eddie,
yeah,
that's not what's knowing the truth.
right.
It's the God idea, self-recognizing, that functions as perfection present.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And in your book, you said it, there is no objective reality. That may be the way it looks. It's not the way it is.
Right. Everything is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
There is no objective reality, none. That's the language look. It's the best view you've got, maybe, at the moment.
So really, action is constant. Action is right now, right now, right now, constant. There's never any inaction.
That's true. If there were, there would be no being.
Right. It would just be blank. It would just be like,
Yep.
So action is continuous always.
Yep.
So it's a myth that there's any inaction at all, unless you have a judgment that you ought to be doing something different.
Reality is always in action.
Yeah. It's just.
So when you experience being stuck, you're not present. When you experience being limited, you're not present. You've bought into the language.
Right.
And you know, it's consciousness. Everything is consciousness.
Yeah.
If my consciousness is not at the standpoint of perfection, I'm not in touch with the facts.
Right.
So being in touch with the facts looks like what we call understanding. And the only freedom you ever have is housed in understanding. Understanding is the only thing that makes the difference. And it isn't something I acquire. It's something that constitutes me. It constitutes the only I there is. And that I is not talking about Betty or Kim or Susie or Johnny.
Right.
That I is the one being all. It's the only I that's accurate.
Okay.
There's one ego, one presence calling itself I. And when you call the human being I, you're putting yourself in a category that has no existence.
Okay. All right. Now, in Christian Science Re-Explored on page 166, starting on line 5, Margaret Laird wrote, "Man as reflection is not a believer in truth, but is the knowledge or understanding that is truth itself, the reality of everything seen, heard, felt."
Yep.
So it's all being. It's all being itself being. It's not about anything.
Well, nothing is about. There's no
Right.
about.
That's what I'm saying. That would be
Presence.
Yeah.
Action. Yep.
Right.
The
And
one
whatever.
the one presence as action is all that's ever going on. It's called reality.
Yeah.
Being itself being.
Right. And whatever arises in consciousness is but the demand to witness the operation of principle in human affairs. The demonstration that there is no division of being into human and divine, no I and another.
Right.
It's all one thing going on.
It's all one I, one ego, one being.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yep.
In Science and Health on page 468 on lines 10 and 11, Mary Baker Eddy said, "All is infinite mind and its infinite manifestation for God, the God idea, is all in all."
Yep.
And that's really what we're talking about here, is action is presence, and presence, being present right now, is just being right now in the moment, each moment.
Yep.
And then you say on page 189, the language world of apparent external forms is the current view manifesting reality.
Yeah. So I want to be focused on the reality present rather than the view. I don't care what it looks like. I care that it's present, all powerful, all constituting, consciousness functioning.
Right. Except for 98% of the time, I do care what it looks like.
No, you thought you did.
I thought I did. That's right. That's where I get caught up, right? That's the little I thinking that
What's
that
present is reality.
Yeah.
All the stuff you do with the other is so much so what.
Right. Got it. Okay. All right. Very cool. All right. If you have liked this session, you can ask any questions at any time. I forgot to say that earlier. So anytime you have comments, you can enter them in. We will look at them and see if we can answer them. We would answer them live if we were live, but if we're not, we'll answer them anyways. And if you like this, you can give us a thumbs up or a heart on Facebook. And we will be back in 2 weeks. We will be back. So there won't be a session next Tuesday, but there will be a session the Tuesday following. So we'll see you in 2 weeks on the 17th of January. Until then, have a great couple of weeks. And there's lots of videos to watch to catch up on. All right. Thanks, Mama. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. We'll see you in 2 weeks.